Hi friends, I'm Jane and this is Fincarte. Ta-da! I dug all of that. Now, on a previous video, I showed this huge lump of grass right in the middle of my vegetable patch, and I said I've got to dig that and clear it. And I had quite a few comments that said things like, have you tried no-dig gardening? More or less along those lines. Yeah, this is a no-dig garden. Believe it or not. Now, I didn't have time to do the no-dig approach to that piece of ground because I got a whole pile of little plants just ready to go in, and they have to go in. So, why the mask? Look at this stuff. I know, olive pollen, straight up my nose. Absolute disaster. The only way I can sleep at night at the moment is antihistamine, ibuprofen, and a spray clear your nose thing before going to bed. Hopefully, by the time this video goes up onto YouTube, the blossom will be over and we'll have little tiny olives coming. Mind you, if we have an olive for every little bit of blossom, we'd never get them harvested. That would be amazing. But it's a pretty good year for the blossoms so far. The thing about a no-dig garden is if you don't cover the ground with something, either plants or carpet or straw or something, then Mother Nature will cover it for you. And that's how I ended up with a big grass patch. And that's how the pathways are still pretty bad. The other thing is what had encroached onto that from the paths was what we call couch grass. It's got various different names in different countries. But basically couch grass sends out roots under the ground like this, sideways, and stop it, cat. And every so often then a shoot comes up to grow the grass, and even the tiniest bit of root left behind in the ground will start a new grass growth. And because, will you stop that? That really isn't appreciated. I have plants there, come on. Anyway, hopefully you get the idea. Unless you remove all of those roots, you are just not getting rid of the problem at all. It can grow quite a long way sideways underground. And even if you cover that grass, it just grows sideways underground and then comes up next to it. So it isn't a solution. Without the manure, absolutely nothing would grow here. Our soil is mostly pure sand. When we first got here, it was very much like the beach. And we didn't think too much of it. We planted without adding a huge amount of anything. I think we had some rotted down chicken poo, which we spread around. But that kind of addition to your soil takes time. It doesn't work overnight. And our first season of vegetables was appalling. I mean, I was surprised, just shocked that nothing grew above 6 inches tall, and most of it didn't fruit. It was very, very disappointing. I really had no experience of soil this poor, and we came from Oxfordshire clay to this sand, so it was a completely new experience for me. But you know, 8 years on, you learn. This bit here, that was the path, and nothing has ever been grown on that before. So I'm not expecting too much from the plants that I put there. What I will do to try and give them a boost is I will use a liquid feed, a foliar feed, and I'm actually fermenting nettles at the moment that will be ready in about a week to start using on that. And that actually is a much more immediate way of feeding your vegetables. Oh, seriously, kitten. I'm a master at shoehorning plants into very tiny spaces, and so long as you keep up the fertility of your soil, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Obviously there are some plants that don't like being side by side, but I have found that that really isn't as much of a problem as you might think. For example, here we have cabbage. Actually, the main cabbage was harvested a long while ago, and I just didn't pull the stalk out, and it's regrown. So I'm going to leave those leaves and see what comes of it. But here it is beside beans, in a big clump of beans, and that, I understand, isn't supposed to be a good combination. There is more here, cabbage there and beans all round it. Cabbage there and beans all round it. But honestly, it doesn't seem to be an issue to either the cabbage or the beans. Now, I was watching a Jeff Lawton permaculture video the other day. Really interesting stuff. And of course, the first thing that struck me was how untidy the gardens were to look at, which kind of made me feel good because I'm an untidy gardener. Yeah, he had all sorts of different vegetables growing side by side and popping up all over the place, with herbs in between, with flowers in between, and it was very messy. You have to know what they look like when they're just little tiny sproutlets, so that you can move flowers away to give vegetables a better chance. And for me, that actually is extra work. Although it makes perfect sense that if you have a huge swathe of one particular crop, that's a huge chemical invitation to all the insects to come and eat me. Whereas if you only have one or two spread around, dotted here and there, there is less of that huge chemical signature to invite the bugs for feast. And that made perfect sense to me. I'm not quite there yet. I couldn't mix broad beans in with other vegetables because the other vegetables at the time were only going to be short, and the broad beans would have totally shaded them out. And yeah, I can't get my head around that entirely. However, I like to plant a little clump of one particular vegetable in one area and another little clump of the same vegetable in a different area. My idea being, if it doesn't do well there, it might do well here. So I do spread my plants around, but there is still a row of tomatoes or a block of tomatoes or a block of peppers. My herbs are doing well. These, I believe these are butternut squash, totally the wrong place, but they've volunteered themselves, so I'm leaving them. Another one there. Oregano with some mint growing up there. It doesn't bother me that the mint is invasive and it's going to spread everywhere, because come summer it really does nothing at all. It's so hot here, and I just stop watering it and it dies back. The coriander's gone to seed, which is what I want. I shall actually use it as green seeds. And my parsley behind it actually has gone to seed as well, but that's okay. Everything has its season. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. See you next time. Bye.